Hello, I am Gabby Ray Talker, and I believe that I have solved the mystery to why Whitney Houston and her daughter drowned. From the clues that I have gathered, from what I gathered, it was not an accident, it was not suicide, it was not a drug overdose, it was not a drug debt from high-end dealers, it did not involve Ray J, it did not involve Pat Houston with no apparent evidence, and it definitely was not an Illuminati industry sacrifice. But I do believe it was murder that came from pure evil, and that evil emerged from a fear of abandonment. Nick Gordon's mom kicked him out of the house when he was in high school. His brother Jack Walker stated that back then Nick had no place to go, and Whitney Houston took him in. Years later, both Whitney Houston and her daughter, Bobbi Kristina, was found face down in a bathtub on two separate dates and locations while Nick Gordon was nearby. I do not believe the murders were about money. However, I believe the murders came from an act of rage, onsetted by a deeply seated fear of abandonment that manifested behaviors that would sabotage a relationship and even lead to homicide. There are so many theories on why Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina drowned, but there's only one seems to measure up and actually makes sense. I have found that only one of these theories perfectly fits in this tragic puzzle of repeated drownings. I have actually narrowed down to one possible theory, and here's why: I have eliminated the others. Let's start with Ray J. I do not believe he played a part in Whitney's death because he stated on a tape that he did not want to interfere in the type of life that he had with her. The ultimate cause of her death was drowning, and Ray J would not have benefited from drowning her. So, for me, this eliminates him as a suspect. The drug overdose theory can be ruled out with both Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina. Whitney Houston's death and Bobbi Kristina's condition resulted from drowning in water. Two other theories are accidental death and attempted suicide. Reports state that Whitney Houston's drowning was an accident, while others believe that Bobbi Kristina attempted suicide. Well, for me, I personally do not believe that Whitney Houston's death was an accident. Nor do I believe that Bobbi Kristina tried to commit suicide, and here's why. For Whitney Houston, it's been reported that she died in only 12 inches of water. Although she had heart disease, she did not have a heart attack. So it's highly unlikely that Whitney Houston fell into only 12 inches of water and then drowned. So, for me, the accidental death is eliminated. Then in Bobbi Kristina's case, there are rampant rumors of suicide, but I cannot agree with this theory either, and here's why. It's been reported that Nick Gordon and Bobbi Kristina argued before she was found unconscious under water in her bathtub, and, for this reason, it rules out suicide. Now let's look at this Illuminati sacrifice theory. For me, I cannot agree that Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina were industry sacrifices. Because for one thing, the numerology numbers that they use did not even add up when they tried to prove that Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina were sacrifices. Instead, superstitious Illuminati believers actually tried to claim that Bobbi Kristina died in February 2015. They tried to prove their theory with their death claims even when she had not been pronounced dead yet. Realistically, and technically, Bobbi Kristina was nearly considered dead shortly before the ambulance arrived to her house and revived her. So now, if she did die, and if she is, I believe that her death occurred at the time of the incident. But Illuminati believers say that she died in February. So, for this false claim, I have to eliminate this theory. So this leaves me with two possible theories: the Nick Gordon theory and the drug debt theory. Not long after Whitney Houston's death, Paul Huebl came out and said that he investigated Houston's death. He said she owed high-end drug dealers that came to collect and drowned her. Then recently in March 2015, Paul Huebl changed his story according to the National Enquirer. He stated that it's possible that Nick Gordon may be investigated for both drownings. So this eliminates the drug debt theory. This brings me to the final theory, and that's the Nick Gordon theory. In a recent study, detectives reveal that the majority of those that commit homicides are often known to the victim. Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina knew Nick Gordon. From the early period of his high school days, Whitney Houston took him in after his mother kicked him out of the house. Let's take a look at Nick Gordon's situation of getting kicked out by his mom. It's been said that he was allegedly involved in drugs and the reason why he was kicked out, but I believe that this caused him to have an abandonment disorder. I will let the doctor explain.
Fear of abandonment is often coupled with dependency on another.
Yes, I believe that it could be possible that Nick Gordon may have developed a disorder of abandonment in childhood when his mother kicked him out at a young age in high school, like dependency Nick Gordon had on Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina.
The fear can do more harm than good, and in some cases the fear of abandonment can become dangerous if someone tries to abandon a person with this disorder. This can result in sabotage of relationships, rage, violence, threats, suicide attempts, and even homicide. Fear of abandonment can often manifest as irrational jealousy.
Yes, I can recall evidence of these behaviors from Gordon that I'm sure would sabotage a relationship. It's been said he was a jealous person. He was often jealous of Bobbi Kristina. It's been reported that he was also jealous over her, and argued with her about her being with another guy before she was discovered face down in her tub. Then even with Whitney Houston, there was some type of frustration Nick Gordon demonstrated with Whitney Houston before she was found face down in her tub. It's been said that earlier that day Whitney Houston wanted to work out but Nick Gordon wanted to stay at the pool. Then he had to get up and go with her anyway, according to Radar Online. It was reported by an anonymous friend of Nick that on that fatal night, Bobbi Kristina went down in the hotel to eat while Nick was left in his room. Recently it has been reported that Nick Gordon's room was next door to Whitney Houston's room, and both rooms may have also been connected together. Then a 2012 article by TMZ speculated that someone smoked with Whitney Houston before she drowned. To me it seems like the most likely person was Nick Gordon. In his tweet from previous years he stated that he participated in smoking with Whitney Houston every day. Then on that fatal night, investigators believe that Whitney Houston was drugged and then pushed under her tub water. Then after the drowning, investigators state that someone cleaned the room removing drugs and the bed sheets. I would think that Nick Gordon is the likely person to have cleaned the room and removed the bed sheets, and here's why. In a recent interview with Jack Walker, Nick Gordon's brother, he stated that Whitney Houston would ask Nick for drugs. I believe that Nick supplied Whitney with drugs before her drowning and then cleaned up the drugs, the bed sheets and anything that may have linked him to the incident. Then some have asked why were the sheets taken? Well, someone has anonymously revealed that Whitney Houston and Nick Gordon were actually involved on an intimate level, and this is why the sheets were removed from the bed, but this relation is alleged and has not been confirmed. However, it does provide a possible answer to why the bed sheets were removed. Also it does explain why Bobbi Kristina and Nick Gordon did not openly come out as a couple until after Whitney Houston had died. So this brings me to, if Nick Gordon caused Whitney Houston's drowning, why did he do it? Well, I believe that Nick Gordon just wanted it to be him and Whitney together. Friends of Bobbi Kristina reported that Nick would often get jealous of the attention Bobbi Kristina would get. In fact, from my research, I found that, on the night before Whitney Houston was found face down in her tub, Bobbi Kristina had almost drowned in her hotel room bathtub. It was reported by TMZ that on February 11, 2012, Bobbi Kristina's friends knocked on her door repeatedly but she did not answer. They had to call a guard to unlock her door. I believe that Nick Gordon just wanted it to be Whitney Houston and him together to secure his place with her. But I believe that he began to express a change of heart by Whitney Houston treating him as the help, rather than more, of a loved one. On the day of Whitney's drowning, it was reported that she was at the pool with Nick. She wanted to go to the gym, but he wanted to stay at the pool. She went to the gym anyway, but he had to follow as part of his job. So later that night, Whitney Houston's drowning incident took place. For Nick Gordon to be responsible, I believe that for some reason he deeply feared that he would be fired. From my research, people that knew Whitney Houston knew that she would fire people in a heartbeat, and possibly Nick did not want to experience another abandonment like with his mom. From what I found, there's at least 3 reasons why Whitney Houston may have wanted to fire Nick Gordon, and reason number 1 is his willingness to work decreased. Reason number 2, he started to show romantic interest in Bobbi Kristina, and reason number 3 is that Whitney Houston may have found out and disapproved that Nick was supplying Bobbi Kristina with cocaine, as alleged. Whatever the case was, I do believe that Nick assumed that Whitney Houston would fire him. I believe that Nick made the quick decision to cut Whitney out of the picture. I believe that he felt that he had more security with Bobbi Kristina. Following Whitney Houston's death, Nick Gordon and Bobbi Kristina lived as a couple, and had even faked being married. In 2014, Bobbi Kristina's friends report that they began to grow apart. Also, various neighbors state that they reported fighting noises coming from their house, and their friends state they began to sleep in separate bedrooms. Then on January 31, 2015, from what I have gathered, Nick Gordon reacted to another situation that may have suggested he would be abandoned. This is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, why did they drown? This video will be continued.